The dominoes are falling across college football, and the dominoes have hit Coral Gables. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. Miami Hurricanes live here at the Voice of College Football each and every Tuesday at 1:15 Eastern Time with a wholesome one to break down the Canes. Much to talk about. And again, not necessarily concerning the head coaching position. Who knows yet? But certainly somebody will be running the offense by not the name of Rhett Lashley in 2022.
Absolutely. What's up, guys? How y'all doing today, man? It's a good feeling to see a coach like that be able to go off and get a head gig. Especially he was there 2 years ago, so there's a great connection. Some of those players that he recruited are now there for him, as a head coach. So that's a beautiful thing for Coach Rhett, and we're happy for Coach Lashley at Miami. He was a very good person to our players. Never really. The only thing we ever had against him was his, the dive up the gut. So, and for all we know, maybe it was just because Derrick King was hurt and he couldn't do certain things. Because let's be honest, once we saw TBD get in the game, I mean, it was a completely different offense and things of that nature. And so he still has his SEC dive kind of approach sometimes, but you are who you are, and you are who have raised you, and it's kind of hard to pull away from that. I mean, he's a young man who played at Arkansas, who played under Gus Malzahn, who has coached under Gus Malzahn, and Gus is a super run heavy guy, whether it be from the pistol or the shotgun. So we super excited for him, and he's officially taking offensive line coach Garen Justice with him over there. There's a couple of and a senior quality control analyst, offensive analyst that he brought over from SMU. He's bringing them back with him over there. There was also talks of him wanting to bring our wide receivers coach, Coach Rob Likens, over there to be his offensive coordinator. That is not official, but that was a big conversation for him. So again, it's tip of the cap to him. He stayed after last year when the Arkansas State head coaching job opened up last offseason. There was a lot of conversation there. He interviewed for it, decided to stay at Miami for another year. So it's we're happy for him. We're happy for him, and I think that's the best approach to bring in situations like this because number one, it's nothing we can do about it. He's gone. Number two, it's a good thing to show that what he's done at Miami and how he's shown to be able to kind of be more of a head coach of the offense because our head coach currently for a little bit was head coach and defensive coordinator. So he basically just kind of handed the offense to Red and just let him say, hey, run that side of the ball. He's done that for 2 years. So it showed his ability to be able to take off. And then, this is my opinion, based on the way that we kind of exploded offensively the last 6 weeks with TBD, I think it showed something. And I'm just happy that he was able to showcase that and get an opportunity as a head coach somewhere.
Yeah, certainly no surprise. We had talked about it in the offseason a number of times that if Rhett Lashley continued to build on his background, yeah, and it's nowhere close to where I can even get to it. So
it's probably George.
We'll let it run through. George would not have my personal number. There's no way that's going to happen.
Oh, I thought that was the call-in number.
That is not the call-in. That is, yes, that is the phone, which, anyway, we will bypass that and continue the football conversation. All right, Rhett Lashley, yes, goes to SMU because Sonny Dykes left SMU to head to TCU. And so the carousel continues. And, of course, we know the big names that have been in the news the last 48 hours, Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma to USC, and Brian Kelly from Notre Dame to LSU. That opens up, of course, Oklahoma and Notre Dame. And so it continues on and on and on and on.
It's not the coaching carousel I had made in the offseason, but I had one where it was like Lane Kiffin goes to goes to LSU, and Mario comes down to Miami. Hugh Freeze goes to Oregon. What was one of the other ones I did? I had Franklin leaving Penn State to go to USC when I had the Cincinnati coach take over at Penn State for him, because I mean it's similar kind of play style and things of that nature. So it was a kind of nice little carousel that I had going on there. I wasn't right about any of them just so yet, but it was kind of cool to be able to be like, okay, well if this happens, then where do you think they're gonna go? And all right, well if they open there, then who's gonna replace him here? It's kind of cool, man. It's a fun thing, and college football is becoming a thing that's you have to invest in it. And these people are big time swingers, and if it doesn't work out, I can guess maybe 4 or 5 years from now, the pay for coaches will have a little bit of a drop, because they're going to think, why are we throwing all this money on the wall and the only one winning are still the same 2 or 3 people? So Kirby and Nick and Dabo or whatever. But who's to say that with that Oklahoma gig opening up, that the person that has really helped Clemson stick around, especially from the defensive perspective, Venables doesn't take the Oklahoma head coaching gig. So, or Josh Heupel, doing Tennessee the same way Lane Kiffin did Tennessee, and doing 1 year at Tennessee and then going back to Oklahoma as the head coach there. So it can continue to go all around. And, the big question of what if is real cool.
From what I understand, even though Josh Heupel won a national championship at Oklahoma, and you would think that there would be the obvious connection and inroad there, that the relationship isn't the best between he and Bob Stoops, who is taking over the program just to coach the bowl game, but is very actively on the recruiting path and trying to be more than just a guy that's going to fill in on the sideline for one game. Bob Stoops is, he is the most recognizable and the most important current living member of the Oklahoma football family.
Right.
And apparently, from what I hear, since he let Josh Heupel go as an assistant coach, there's not necessarily the best of relationships there. But certainly Brent Venables, if I had to lay some money on it, I would go with him as the next Oklahoma coach. Most likely. We shall see. We shall see. Garen Justice. So with offensive line being not the greatest of strengths for Miami, both from the standpoint of recruiting or development, how would you evaluate the job that he did?
The tough part about that is the seniority crap that was pulled with Corey Gaynor over almost said Ja'Cory Brown, Ja'Kai Clark at center. That's where the biggest growth in the offense has kind of come from there. Because like I've illustrated for the longest, someone who played the center position, high school wise, played defensive line and linebacker in the college level. But it's so important that you have someone there that just isn't doing their job. He has to be the most communicator, besides even more than the quarterback, because he communicates to the quarterback. This is coming here, they're slanting theirs, and they have to be also a very big research person and being big on their studies and making sure that they're watching a high level of film so that they know what's coming. Being able to call out coverages, all that kind of stuff, it's super important to have that there. And Corey Gaynor was just a guy. He's going to just do his job, line up, go to the weight room, lift a whole bunch of weights, and then just get in position. Well, also, you think about the athleticism jump, we've pulled Ja'Kai Clark. We haven't been able to pull a center in a very, very long time. We can pull Ja'Kai Clark. He's also able to climb to linebackers faster, being able to take better angles because he has athleticism. Okay, so that I would put into what Garen Justice has done over the last 2 years to really help build that offensive line as far as coaching him up. Now, we all know we know that Ja'Kai was very good at center. He was a center prospect coming out of high school, but he also had to be developed and helped to get even better at that position. Okay. And I think Garen Justice played a big part over the last 2 years. Was he his recruit? I believe, yeah, I think Garrett Justice was his recruiter too. Then you also talk about Jalen Rivers, the left tackle prospect, moved into left guard, won the battle at left guard when Navon Donaldson was playing right guard at the start of the season. Okay, you talk about that starting offensive line: Zion Nelson and 64, and he had, if you put Jakai in there to start the season, who knows where that's going. So I think he was solid. I wouldn't say he was great or elite. I think he was very solid. He was able to help the players, but we wanted a little bit more of an aggression to the offensive line. I felt like we weren't maulers. We weren't pushing people off the ball. And then in other instances, we weren't the best in pass protection either. So it was a big question mark as to what we were bringing to the table for a point there offensively from the offensive line. So I wouldn't be too hard on him, but I'm also not going to be like, okay, well he's really good. It's all right, man. He's I think Miami could do better. What he has done for Miami was good. We kind of accepted that for what it is, especially once a couple of those injuries happened, and we moved some people who were supposed to be guards back to guard, as opposed to leaving a DJ Scaife at right tackle. We moved Nabon from right to left, and he's been successful at left guard. I was very, very surprised that he would do well at left guard, because when you think of the right guard, you think, just like right tackle, you think that's the power side, that's the strong side, where people are just moving people off the ball. You know, they take two steps and just drive. Well, now you think the left side is the pass protection side. Well, a dude that's 6'6", 385 pounds, you don't think of him as a pass protector. So you would prefer to have him on the right side, and he just mauls guys off the ball. Well, he moved to left guard, and basically having his right leg as his plant leg and having his left leg as his slide and his kick leg. He's done a lot better over there. So being able to identify that, being able to mix a couple offensive lines together due to injury or people losing jobs, things of that nature, having the connection to number 70, can't think of his name right now, but he was at UNLV under Garrett Justice and was able to get him in the transfer portal this past offseason so that he could have a sixth or seventh offensive line who can play left guard, left tackle, right tackle. That's a big thing. You can't deny that, being able to have so that relationship, to bring in somebody that you trust, who knows the system, who can play either position that you need if someone goes down, or things of that nature. So again, I maybe if I gave him a grade, B minus, C plus kind of coach, but I think Miami could do better. The players loved him. He was a good person to them. But from us on the outside looking in, we think we need a little bit more of a grimy, get after kind of person, so that we can have that outlook through these players to where we're moving people off the football.
Wholesome One, you are on record as being a Mario Cristobal guy. All right. Questions coming in here that basically states, if you can't get Mario, would you rather go with a second option or keep Manny?
I believe that it is best to depart from Manny Diaz as fast as humanly possible. But to be able to answer that question, but mix someone else to ease the worry of some other people. Okay, give you some facts here, guys. In Manny Diaz's contract, there's a buyout clause that if he is let go after December 1st of 2021, we save $2 million. So we don't have to finish out his buyout. Okay. Now, that works out well for us. That's completing 3 years. After 3 years, if he is a full, because he signed December 1st of 2019. So 19, 20, not 21, 3 whole years. If we're able to let him go after that, we don't have to do a buyout. So that's where we believe the reason why he is still our head coach, the reason why he is still, and no one's made any moves yet. Number one, we don't have an athletic director finalized yet. Number two, we get to save some of that money. And yeah, when you're a millionaire, you want to save every dime, okay? Because you want to stay a millionaire. All right, that doesn't make us broke or famished for money if we want to save just measly $1 million. Okay, that is a great move, because You're saving money that adds to what you can bring to new coordinators, what you can add to divvy up between position coaches. I mean, that's an extra 25K you could add to somebody for a quality control position. Instead of giving them 50K, you can give them 62K because guess what? We saved 2 million over here in the back pocket. So, and that's 48 hours away. Is it the worst thing in the world to wait a couple days to let him go, as opposed to have to let him go now because LSU's making moves and Notre Dame's making moves and Oregon and all these other places? So we're just gonna fall in line because we want to be the Twitter headline of today? Nah. Let's be logical. Let's make sure we're doing this thing the right way. And in my opinion, the first domino the next domino that has to fall is being able to finalize an athletic director and to also finalize and make official Alonzo Highsmith over football operations. Once those things are handled, then we can move to, and I think that can be done within the next 2 to 3 days. Now, I said that last week. I also said that the week before. So, based on this information that was brought to me about this Coach Diaz and the buyout, I think we're going to have moves by the end of the week. It's just that simple. So, there's that.
Brandon, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate your contribution. Wholesome one. Do you see a breakout defensive end in 2022?
I wonder if he's asking about a breakout defensive end recruit or current on the roster.
Yeah.
I'll answer the roster question. I think that's where he's leaning to. I wouldn't say I was disappointed in Jafari Harvey, but I also thought we could have got more out of him. Number 12, defense end for Miami. I didn't really see him that quickness in the move Rolodex that I thought he had, that I saw coming out of high school. As far as what I mean by Rolodex is multiple different moves. He's not just this run the edge rip guy. He's not just a bull rush guy. He's not just a simple rip and swim kind of guy. He's working multiple moves and giving people fake spins and all kind of stuff coming out of high school. So I'm thinking, all right, we get him in the weight room, get him some nutrition. He's going to take that and add that to what he's doing now. And I don't know if it's coaching and not them not allowing you to work multiple different moves, because I personally know what it's like to have a coach who tells you my defensive linemen don't spin. And it's like, but it's my best move. It's one of my best moves. I like to use it to set it up. No, you're not going to do that here. All right. You have defense, so you have coaches who don't allow their players to do certain things because that's not what they like and that's not how they want you to play. They don't coach that stuff. So I don't know what that. So I'm going to say Elijah Roberts or Chance Williams would be one of the two guys for 2022 to me as a breakout. Elijah Roberts is a young man that it boggles my mind how he was not able to get more snaps this previous year. But then again, it doesn't, because I know that we have a coach currently who I hope is no longer our head coach anymore. We have that kind of coach to where Ja'Kai Clark beats out Corey Gaynor this offseason. But because one's a super senior and one has 3 years left for eligibility, you tell the other one that, hey, I know you want out, but we would love if you took a red shirt because you got more time, and tried to make him red shirt instead of giving him the job that he just won. Okay, we know for a fact that we have that kind of coach. So for all we know, Elijah Roberts been killing it, and it probably should have been a guy who gets out there more often. So should have Chance Williams. So should have Leonard Taylor, because Leonard Taylor gets on the field and the man makes a play, you pull him right out. We don't see him again for 2.5 quarters because you want to keep throwing Nesta Silvera and Ford and Miller out there, guys who weren't really doing much. So you never know with anything that was ran by Manny Diaz. You just don't know, man. You just don't know. In the latter half, Mark, objectively, do you think other decent Power 5 coaches could be better?
Okay.
Bro, yes.
Where do I start?
Yeah.
So basically, this question will be answered succinctly and much quicker if I tell you what coaches aren't better than Manny Diaz. And I'm not knocking Manny Diaz, but as I filter through levels of coaches in each conference, let's not even approach the Lincoln Rileys and Dabo Sweeneys. Let's go way beyond that and keep filtering down through the ranks. Take a conference like the Big Ten. Who would you not take over Manny Diaz? I'm going to serve up possibly one name. Mike Loxley at Maryland, not necessarily doing a great job, had a pretty horrible stay at New Mexico State, but still just got Maryland to a bowl game at 6-6, so he's not doing a horrible job. I would take every other coach in the Big Ten, and I wouldn't even think about it. All of them are better than Manny Diaz. It's not even debatable. Okay, go to the SEC. The only guy that's only coached now one season, and he's at obviously a very challenged school, is Clark Lee, former defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, now at Vanderbilt. So he's difficult to evaluate. He's only been there for one season, and obviously he's playing the best league in the country with one arm tied behind his back. Other than that, don't you take, guys like Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, jury's still out, 5-5 last year in his first year, 6-6 this year, hasn't set the world on fire by any stretch, but pretty much what you would expect at Missouri. Josh Heupel's better than Manny Diaz by I'm going through the entire SEC. I'm coming out with the same conclusion other than Vandy and possibly Missouri. Consider Shane Beamer took over a 2-8 South Carolina team. They're going to a bowl game. They're 6-6. He's improved them considerably. They just beat Auburn a couple weeks ago. Go through.
I'll take Brian Harsin. Give me Auburn's head coach.
Oh, absolutely. They just took Alabama to 4 overtimes. I know that they had a disappointing 6-6. But I picked that team to go 6-6. Their schedule's brutal. If Brian Harsin coached in the ACC at a school where every time he stepped on the field, except maybe twice a year, he had the better talent versus what he's going to face in the SEC West. Oh my goodness. Go through every conference. Almost everybody's better. And the ones that aren't basically haven't had a chance to prove it yet.
But I don't really blame him, and I know you're not attacking him per se. But
no, I'm not.
Mark, it's so many people in this fan base that are literally trying to give the argument of, Mark, we had a very decorated former player come out and say in support of Manny Diaz. This man compared him to when Michigan gave Harbaugh 5-6 years. And look what happened when the administration didn't listen to the fan base and gave a coach 6 years to build a program. He topples a giant. And there's a picture of Manny Diaz standing next to like a split picture of Manny Diaz to Jim Harbaugh. And he legit compared Jim Harbaugh to Manuel Diaz. He was serious.
Obviously, the mark against Jim Harbaugh is he got stuck behind one of the 3 best programs in the country for 5 years. Well, now he beat them. But look at all the previous accomplishments. He went to Stanford. They were a 2 or 3 win team. He goes to 2 consecutive BCS bowl games with Stanford. He raises them from 2 or 3 wins to 11, 12 wins a year, top 5 finishes. He goes to the NFL, goes to San Francisco 49ers. They're 2-14 before he gets there. He goes to 3 straight NFC championship games. Comes within a completed pass of winning a Super Bowl. Those guys are in just completely different universes.
But that's what people try to make the argument. We also had somebody who's trying to make the argument that you need to give people 4 to 5 years to show you after they have an opportunity to build the program. Well, he's shown you twice who he is. The first year, he showed you who he was with a 6-7 record, losses to Duke, FIU, La Tech. Okay. The next year, it's a global pandemic year, and he has first-round talent on the defensive side of the ball. And his peak was 8-3. And anytime we played somebody worth something, we lost. and lost big. Okay. This year, he again proves to you who he is at 7-5. He's a 6 to 7 to 8 win kind of coach. That's who he is right now. So next year he's going to do what? Come back and go 7-5, 8-4 again. And again, what people are missing is this entire time you're wasting the careers and lives of young men to see where he goes just because we want to give him a chance to finish out his contract. Really? But that's how some people think. They think they just
Almost 100% of the time, if a coach is eventually going to be successful, you see strong indications of that the first year or two. You see it almost immediately. The only two exceptions I can come up with, and there's probably a few others, way back years ago in the 80s, Bill Snyder, when he took over Kansas State. But you're talking about a program. Somebody go look at Kansas State's records in the 60s, 70s, 80s prior to Bill Snyder. They were literally going 1-10 almost every year. They were horrible. And so that's taking a program that's just the worst in college football. And that's understandable. It took them like 3 or 4 years. And then they're going 9-3, 10-2. Like he completely lifted that out of the gutter. And then the other example currently would be Mark Stoops. And again, Kentucky wasn't quite that bad, but they were pretty bad when he took them over. And it took him a few years. It took him 3 or 4 years to get them up to, okay, we're going to go 8-4 pretty much every year.
And that's a step up for that program. That's a step up and things of that nature. So
absolutely,
it's weird, man. I'm just happy. And then Brandon D brings up the same person that had that. Brings up a great point. I know we got to get to this because this is a paid question, but look at the comparison team, Mark. Who did we play in a bowl game last year, right? Oklahoma State. These people are vying for a playoff bid. This could have been a rematch. Let's say, for example, Miami has their crap together. We could be doing a rematch of that same Russell, Cheez-It, Athletic, whatever it's called now, bowl, and maybe the first round of the playoffs. I'm just saying maybe, especially if you look at what Miami was bringing to the table. And now if you fast forward and look at how far Clemson had fallen off, this could have been Miami, Wake Forest, or Miami, NC State in the ACC championship game, and Miami's 10-2, figuring it out. Let's say we lose a road game to Tallahassee and we lose the first game to Bama. Or hell, you lose Michigan State and Bama. Cool beans, no problem. 2 really good teams. We just weren't there. We finished everything else out. We're 10-2. We're going to play Wake Forest in the ACC championship game. Oak State does their thing, and look at that. Russell Athletic Bowl rematch in the first round of playoffs. That would have been pretty cool. But no, that's not what we're getting. Far, far from it. They have projected and taken off. Arguably, the same team came back, except for Chuba Hubbard, because he went on to the NFL, I believe, right? He's gone. And they are a playoff-bound team. While we're getting ready to play.
Wide receiver, too.
What'd you say?
Tylan Wallace. They lost.
Yeah, the big-time wide receiver. Yeah, he left.
Yep.
Now we're about to play in the Sun Bowl or something. It's just. Wow.
Think about this. Throw out 2020 because the ACC didn't have divisions and Notre Dame took up that other championship game spot. 2018, 19, and 21, 3 consecutive seasons. Miami beat the team from the Coastal that went to the ACC championship game. So they proved on that day that when they're playing on their game, they are better than Pitt in 18, Virginia in 19, Pitt in 21. But because that team was on point the rest of the season, doing what they playing at their level, Miami screwing up against other teams, they didn't win the division.
It's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. And that's, again, we have so much. I feel like we've beat that dead horse so many times about talent. Blue chip ratio, recruiting, star system, whatever you want to argue, Miami's the best team on the Coastal on paper every year. But you need a coach that's going to come in and be a disciplinarian and get us focused. And I believe once we do that, we'll be all right. And that's why I continue to say there's a huge margin between what I want out of Mario and what I want out of Lane. If I come on here and Lane Kiffin is the head coach, I'm going to be excited. I'm still going to have a whole bunch of worries. I'm just going to be very, very nervous about him off the football field. You know, I am. But as far as going out there and blowing out Virginia and kicking Virginia Tech in the teeth and beating down, getting in the shootout with Pitt, we probably won't have to worry about some of those things. We're going to win on the football field. And again, some people believe it's unfair, my viewpoint on him, and that's okay. That's just my view. That's my view, my opinion when it comes to Lane Kiffin. Cam has his viewpoint when it comes to Brian Kelly. He can't stand him. No matter it's that off the field stuff matters. And I'm sorry, not sorry, what you have done in your past until proven otherwise, that's who you are. And it's still nothing has been proven otherwise that he's not go to the strip club with your wide receivers coach kind of guy. And I don't think we need that at Miami. Okay, you want to talk about our past? Our guys didn't do that kind of stuff. Jimmy Johnson and Snellenberger and Butch Davis, they didn't do that kind of stuff. They built a program from the inside out. And you checked your ego at the door, coaches included. And we were building men. You come in as kids. Through your process here, you become a young man, and you leave here a grown man, ready to do things the right way. Not thinking that things are just going to be given to you because you're the oldest. Not things be given to you just because of who you are and what your last name is. Not things be given to you just because ESPN thinks you're the starter on a projected depth chart. You had to go earn that stuff. And they didn't care if you were an 18-year-old freshman or a 23-year-old red shirt senior who came back. You had to earn your keeps. And it was from how you did things on Green-Tree practice field and in our weight rooms. And that has been far cry since me. Mark Richt was a nice bleep in the radar. But Randy Shannon, nope. Al Golden, nope. And now Manny Diaz, no. None of them did things that way. And again, that's not to just take a crap on Lane Kiffin or Jamie Chadwell or whoever these people are bringing up, but there's only a couple people, one in particular for me, and that's Mario, but maybe someone like Tom Herman, who was a no BS kind of coach. We need somebody that's going to come and shake things up here and get our young men refocused. Because what the main reason for us not winning this is a lack of focus and a lack of discipline. Speed, you don't got to worry about. Size, you got to worry about. Catching the football, you ain't got to worry about. Tackling, a little bit. You got to worry about that. We're one of the worst tackling teams in the country.
Catching the football maybe a couple of years ago. Over the last
yeah, you're right.
Years.
This year we worked on that. And that, what happened with that? We brought in somebody with a resume. And what did he do? We didn't just promote our recruiting coordinator to wide receivers coach because he's really cool with the players and like, yeah, that's what's up. Nope. We went out and got somebody with a resume, and look what happened. That's it, man. We got to do better, man.
Hey, Jesus, we appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for the contribution, too. This is the time for the Miami administration to show up if they want to be relevant in football and be a powerhouse again. I hope the search for athletic director is being done properly.
Thank you. That's my whole thing, Mark. I went off on a rant on YouTube about that. We're on YouTube now. I went on my channel last night about that. It's like everybody and their mom is angry because Miami isn't making changes right now because everyone else is. Those programs have their stuff in order. The University of Florida, they have a whole athletic department ready to win. Louisiana State University, they have a whole athletic department ready to win. That's why they swung for the fences with some of those coaches. USC swung for the fences because they had everything else in order. We don't have none of that stuff in order. Our recruiting department has 3 people in it. 3. That's nothing compared to these big time programs. They got a dude that all he does is just scour highlight tapes. Then you got another person who evaluates them. You got another person who gets in contact and tries to figure out who's their high school coach. Gets in conversation with that. They have, and then that's before you even read a recruiting coordinator, an area recruiter, a position coach, a coordinator. Before any of those people get involved, they got a whole army of people whose job it is to go find that 3-star in class of 2024 that they believe is going to be a 4-star, coming based on size and strength and all that kind of stuff that he brings to the table, moving up. Miami doesn't have that stuff. We just got nutrition a couple years ago. We just built an indoor practice facility. So we are in a true infancy stage of this. So we have to be very careful who the person we pick to help lead this. And I'm happy that they're taking their time. Mark, we hired a search firm to help us get that. They told them there's a couple people we don't want you to interview. So Miami told them to kick rocks. We don't want you a part of this anymore. Before, Miami would have said, okay, you guys are the professionals. We'll listen to you. Who are some of the people you want us to interview? Instead, Mark, they were like, why can't we interview Jurchich from Louisville? All because he has a scandal. We don't want anything, that scandal stuff. We want to, if you the firm told Miami, you interview him, we don't want to be a part of it anymore. Miami interviewed him, so they're not a part of it anymore. So what does that say to me, Mark? They are wanting to get better. And they're going to take their time and do this the right way instead of just speed it up and get it done. No, let's make sure we're getting this thing done right so that they are in line with the Highsmith. They are in line with the alum. They are in line with where we want to go. Then after that is done, then you go find a head coach that's in line with that too. It's that simple.
So in the live chat, we obviously encourage everyone to bring your comments and your questions and spew your opinion all over the place. We have no issue with that as long as it's respectful. And if it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, I'll certainly once in a while point some things out that are a bit amusing. But when you spit out supposed facts and they're not facts, and so you've landed at the right place here at the Voice of College Football, because I will always hold everyone accountable. So Charles, that's not correct. Do some research. Go through the ACC Coastal Division, and you will find.
I was gonna say Pittsburgh has
many
a bunch,
national
right? They're pretty
championships.
good. They had
They've got
a
a lot
nice
of national
history.
championships. So does Georgia Tech. So you put those two together.
Now maybe if he would have corrected it and said since 1980 or something like that, then okay.
There you go.
Yeah, that
if you want to put a condition on it, but
right,
all
right.
time, yes.
modern
Tech,
or something like that. I mean, because Pitt was before Penn State took off. I didn't even know that. I'm playing NCAA, and I'm like, so I'm driving down on their field, and then there's just these posters where it says national champion. I'm like, Pitt did what? So I'll look it up. Before Jopa took over, that northeast area of football was very great. And before Penn State took off, they were those dudes, man. And I did not know that at all.
Yeah, I only barely remember one of those in 1976. I really don't remember that because that was about a year or two before I really dove into college football. But Tony Dorsett, Heisman Trophy winner in 1976. They won the Sugar Bowl over Georgia, won the national championship. That was Pitt's last. And they had some real close shots under Dan Marino right after that.
Right.
80, 81. They were right there. All right. We appreciate everybody being here. We're here every Tuesday with the Wholesome One. So we appreciate you being here, but also you could bring in some more folks with you each and every week. Also, keep in mind that we would love to have a sponsor for this show. So if you have any connections there, hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. We are looking for sponsors. There's much talk about Bill O'Brien in the chat as well.
I mean, That's where you got to be careful.
Are we
I want a
talking about as an
disciplinarian,
offensive coordinator or a head coach?
probably head coach. I want a disciplinarian that still gets our guys to a certain extent. You don't want a disciplinarian for just disciplinarian's sake. And Bill O'Brien's history is kind of a little iffy with the way he treats and talks to players. So I'm not necessarily on board with that. At one point, I was. I did more deep dive research, and I was. I don't think him and the way that he talks to guys mainly out of a base like South Florida, where they have hair like mine and golds and that kind of stuff. I don't necessarily think he would be the best. I mean, the way he treated DeAndre Hopkins, I don't know about that. I don't know about that, man. I don't know
Yeah,
about that.
people sometimes get confused. You can be a disciplinarian and still treat people with respect. You can
Right.
be a disciplinarian, people. You don't have to yell at them. You don't have to demean them in any such way. Just be a disciplinarian in regards to, okay, these are the rules, these are the guidelines, and this is what needs to be followed. And we're going to work together. We've got a common goal. We're going to work together. You're going to be held accountable to be on time, to work hard, to know the playbook, to go to class, whatever else you want to lay out. And we're going to work together, and hopefully that individual also shows some level of care and love and respect, in addition to just, I'm going to be a football coach, because that's what builds relationships and makes it all truly work. And that's when players are really going to work and play for and fight for a coach, is if they believe the coach has their best interest in mind as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, I tell you what, I was a little nervous about Bill O'Brien because his name was coming up for the Tech job. And I was pretty nervous that he was going to take the Virginia Tech job. But they took the Penn State's defensive coordinator. So, I mean, that makes us scared. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of jobs that's opening up, man. And like I said, Miami's job is not open just yet, but in my opinion, it is. Um, a lot of people keep asking what happens if Mario takes the extension at Oregon because they want to give him a big surplus to stay at Oregon. Um, I'll tell you this: what happened with Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma for USC? He's getting all the flack. I think Mario doing it now would not get all the flack because he's the second guy to do it. The first guy usually gets all the flack. Second guy, not so much. And his main thing was the recruiting base and being able to leave for greener pastures. Yes, Oklahoma had the better money. Oklahoma was willing to give him more. Oklahoma had the facilities. Oklahoma's a Jordan brand. They got uniforms. He has a stacked roster. Oklahoma this, Oklahoma, and he Southern Cal. Because of proximity to talent and the ability to not have to recruit super harder to convince a South Florida or Texas or California guy to go to Norman, Oklahoma to play ball, as opposed to be there and just have to, hey, come up the road, or come down the street, go a little bit east, go a little bit west from where you are, come on down to USC. And it's one of those jobs that it would blow up. It blows up, man. Yeah, you're right. 863K. Mario would be the third because guess what? Kelly just did the same thing, leaving Notre Dame, one of the most from in the Catholic Church, and how much money do they have? let's be honest, And he left them to go down to rural LSU. Proximity to talent. He doesn't have to argue with a Florida running back from Orlando to go up to Notre Dame. He can come over to LSU. He gets first pickings of everyone out of Louisiana, a huge recruiting place. So you got that. Again, all those bells and whistles, they help in recruiting. But the proximity to them and being able to have them be that close to you is the number one thing. So now, if Mario does decide to leave, he won't have to convince and get in a battle with USC about a Southern California or an Arizona guy going way up to the Northwest to Oregon. Because guess what? He could drive within an 80-mile radius. He got to spend that much on recruiting. He don't need a private jet to fly to see recruits. If you do want to fly, you can. Get on a 45-minute flight to Atlanta. You don't really need to. Guess what? We can all get in a truck and go straight up I-95. It'd be just fine. You know, if you want to fly to Texas, you want to fly to Cali, sure. But you wouldn't have to build the program. And that's all I'm saying. I could be dead wrong, Mark. I could come on here and maybe Mario does take the extension at Oregon. And then Miami can go to the Lane train. Miami can go to the Tom Herman train. There's other places Miami could go. But for me, the H1H is only one person with the resume, with the mentality, with the understanding of what it takes for Miami to be great, and the complete buy-in from local places, local schools, local boosters, local alums, and that is Mario Cristobal. It's that simple. I said the same thing in 2018 when I was on here. 19 when we 18, yeah, 18 when we went with Manny Diaz. I said go with the elite hire and go get Cristobal. I said it then. I'm gonna say it now. If 3 years from now we're doing the same thing, I'm gonna call you from whatever school I'm working at, and I'm gonna say, Mark, they better get Cristobal. You know, it's to me, it's a pretty simple answer.
I can understand your stance right now. We've discussed it many times. The background, the allegiance to the school, that's where he played, that's where he was a student, all that. In addition to, okay, look at what he's proving at Oregon. In 2018, though, why were you sold on him?
I felt like it was a gig. Number one, some of the same things. And not even just the winning stuff, as far as just him as that. The biggest thing about Miami is being a CEO and being a leader of men and recruiting. He's had that, which is why he got hired at Oregon to take. Well, he left Alabama to go to Oregon as assistant head coach, as head of recruiting, and the offensive line coach and co-offensive co-OC. When he was at Alabama, he did the same stuff: offensive line coach, head of recruiting, assistant head coach. So those things, when you write it in, that kind of mentality, there has to be a certain mentality to get that stuff done. For Nick Saban to have you lead his head of recruiting, there's things that you had to bring to the table. So even back then, before he had the Rose Bowl wins, because I foresaw that happening based on who he was and based on what he was bringing to the table and based on him being able to stack the cupboard with recruiting. So I foresaw the two-time Pac-12 champion, the Rose Bowl champion, now about to be the third-time Pac-12 champion. I foresaw that and wanted that here at Miami because you join a conference that's still kind of iffy. ACC and the Pac-12 are very similar. The Coastal and the North are very similar. He could be doing the same thing he's doing there, here, as far as stacking the cupboard, winning recruiting battles, and beating down on a so-so conference.
I'd love to go through the Oregon roster and see where these players are coming from.
Oh, no problem. I got that. It's all right here.
Because they're certainly not coming. They're certainly not as close as what he would need to recruit at Miami.
Mark, last recruiting class, he signed 7 players who were number 1 in their state. He signed a number 1 player in Oregon, in Utah, in Arizona, in New York, in Missouri, and he also signed the number 1 player coming out of Colorado. He signed the number 2 and 3 player coming out of California last season for Oregon. And it's not just offensive linemen. You talk about wide receivers, quarterbacks, running backs, cornerbacks, safeties. He signed number 1 and number 2 inside linebacker last recruiting class with Justin Flo and Sewell. Number 1, he was number 1 now for them. Number 10, Joe Flo, he was hurt this year. Okay. Then you look at what he's done as far as recruiting and developing. He landed the number 1 recruit in the country in Kayvon Thibodeau. Now, you know, Soliai, the defensive line coach, one of the best defensive line coaches out there, was the one who actually developed him. But Penei Sewell, 8th overall pick to the Detroit Lions, you know who his primary recruiter was, man? Alex Mirabal, assistant head coach, offensive line coach. You know, his secondary recruit was Mario Cristobal. He was the #1 guard in the country. They turned him into a left tackle prospect, 8 overall pick. Just saying. Um, you know, it's just that simple. I know that as passionate as I am about Mario, it creates people who want to go on the opposite and think I'm just kissing his ass. It's not that. It's what he has put to the table and what he's put out there, man. It's just it's his substance. It's a substance.
It would be something to take what you just ran down in regards to the level of recruits he brought in from all those states and see where that position of player typically goes. #1 player in the state of New York. I'm guessing that player usually goes to Penn State, somewhere like that.
Right.
#1 players in Utah, Colorado probably go to Utah or Colorado or go to Nebraska, or maybe they go down to Texas or Texas A&M, somewhere like that, and on and on. And obviously the best players in California traditionally have gone to USC.
So, I mean, like I said, just because I'm reading some of the comments and they're like, "Oh, get off of him, man." Sheesh. It's that simple. And I don't like to crap on Lane, but I had the conversation with Mark last week. Lane ain't never won nothing. There's 2 bowl wins. We're at FAU.
He won one last year, but he went 5-5.
Okay, so he's 1-1.
Yeah.
Okay. And like I said, if he's the head coach, I'll be a little disappointed. I'll get on, and we'll roll because he'll be the head coach. But for someone who, as far as that leadership, as far as rebuilding a program, as far as changing the mindset of what we had, and just this being country club you, sunshine you, we just chilling and hanging you, you know, it's that simple. What has Mario won? Hey man, if you just want to do a simple Google search, and I know a lot of people are like, look at his record, his overall record. This is a guy who was the 2nd coach ever at FIU. Okay, Florida International. It's not a big program, so a lot of his losses are there. In his time at Oregon, he's lost 10 games in 4 years. 3 of them was in a COVID year.
Oregon is
after losing the first round.
Yeah, it's obviously a place where you can win, but it wasn't being done the few years before he got there. Willie Taggart went 7-6 his 1 year there. Mario comes in, win a Pac-12 championship, win a Rose Bowl, finish in the top 5 or 6 in the country, win a Pac-12 championship, win a Fiesta Bowl. So it's won 2 conference championship games and won 2 major bowl games.
WA, can I ask you, is Ohio State at the Horseshoe not a big game? Is the Rose Bowl not a big game? Is the Pac-12 championship not a big game? Don't let that Utah crap fool you. Yes, that was embarrassing. Yes, that's a blind spot that he has to fix. Okay? On the road, you know, find out his mom's sick, gets on a plane a couple of days after that to come down to mine. Like, I'm not trying to create an excuse, but that game was really bad to watch. But for you to get on here and say, like, he doesn't win the big game on the road, come on, man. I'm not going to get it. Anyway, y'all know where to find me on YouTube. Y'all know where to find me on Twitter. And my number is public. So if you have a problem and you want to talk to me about any of that kind of stuff, you know where to find me. Just that simple.
Ohio State hadn't lost a game at home in 4 years.
Mark, it just you get to the point where you understand people are trolls, so they're just like they're doing it to get an arousal out of me, and I'm letting them win right now by responding to them because it's that kind of poison. We got to get out the fan base. We got to get people. You know, one angry black man like that. That is just stupid. Just stupid.
We'll take this question as a super chat. Appreciate that, MDB. Should we ever consider Terrence Lewis?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Terrence Lewis is T2, inside linebacker from Miami, who went up to Maryland. We've talked about him multiple times. He had a lot of off the field stuff, and people
Yeah.
are kind of, he had a big question mark. It's just that simple. So it's I think he's a good player. I think again, he would not have worked under the Manny Diaz regime, and he would have gotten in trouble, and people would have been like, "Oh, why did you take this guy?" Because he had a lot of off the field issues. Okay. But if you bring him in, that's why it's so important who you hire. It's so important to have structure. It's so important to have true leadership. Because when you do have those things, and you do have those people surrounding you, then you're able to take in some of those people, man. Okay. When you're able to bring in some of those people and you're able to help them change their lives and able to surround them with better mental and get them to grow. It's just that simple, man. So I hope that we do make a change and that we're able to allow some of these guys to come home because they aren't troubled children or cancers. They're people who have a past. And the best thing that you can do for them is to work with them, not kick them off and send them way yonder. I mean, he had the Nick Saban had the big rant about the defensive tackle who got in trouble and had made him go through all of that stuff. And he ends up playing 15 years in the NFL for the Panthers, and his daughter goes to Princeton. But if he would have kicked him off the Michigan State team, then maybe he doesn't get that opportunity because he doesn't go make the millions in the NFL. So, these are still people. They still make bad choices. They still fall short sometimes, but aren't we all? There was only one perfect person, and that's why he led the charge, and that's why you follow him as best as you can. And the best thing that you can do is thy neighbor, and just throwing thy neighbor's children to the wayside and not being there for them when your job is to be that and to help them grow. That stuff is important, man. It's important.
I think I can speak for the wholesome one. Nobody here is saying that Lane Kiffin is not a really good head football coach. He obviously is gaining all this attention because he knows what he's doing. He can scheme up like just about nobody and call plays. There's just a lot of things there involving just nothing serious, but just immaturity off the field, immaturity on the field. And he's not built a program and won significant games and championships. Are they having a great season this year at Ole Miss? They're having a really good season. They're 10-2 in the SEC. But this would be by far the standout year. Now, he had a 10-2 year at USC. That was 2 years removed from Pete Carroll. Obviously, it was his players. But, had a nice season, 1 season out of 4 at USC.
Again, I got into a debate with one of the dudes over the phone who called me about that, about our show last week. And I'm just like, man, I'm taking what he has put out there. I'm taking what he has shown. And again, like I said, I have been very objective about the whole thing when it comes to Mario. Are there some things I'm nervous about with him? That power run game, you have, number one, you got to spend a lot of money to surround him with the best coordinators and position coaches because he's a CEO approach. He's a kind of a head man kind of coach. So he needs the managers around him to be just as good, if not better. Okay, he can't call offense. He can't call defense. He can coach offensive line, but he ain't gonna go out there and call no offensive defense. So you're gonna have to give him the best on the outside as far as coaching with that. And also, he has shown some lack in focus. He's lost some games he isn't supposed to. So there's gonna be a loss to a UVA on a Thursday in his time here. There's going to be a loss at Lane Stadium. There's going to be a loss to Tallahassee in his time here. That happens. He does that. There may be a blowout loss. But guess what? He learns from it. They get better from it. He still continues to recruit and build and stack the cupboard. If you look at what he's done at Oregon, if you replicate that, people would die for that at Miami. 12-2 Miami with a win in the Orange Bowl. Come on, bro. Yeah, that same year he lost to Arizona State on a random Thursday. He went on an 8-game win streak after that and won the conference and won the Rose Bowl. Like, come on, dude. Like, I don't get it. People will try to find anything to kind of poke and pry. Again, he's not perfect. Last time I checked, his name's Mario, not Jesus. Okay, he's not like I'm not gonna die on a wall for the man. I'm not worshiping the man. What I'm trying to let you know is for Miami, for what he does at Miami and what I could project him to do, I think he would be the best decision. Again, could you go to a Lane? Could you go to a Tom Herman? For some of you all who are crazy and think we should go after Urban Meyer, cool. All those people would win here. All those people would grow here. Who would build the best program in lockstep with Alonzo Highsmith? All right, Chris.
Shoot, if nothing else, he's proven he can beat Wisconsin in a bowl game. So you at least have that. You wouldn't have to deal with Wisconsin in another bowl game.
Mark, I'm hoping we don't get lined up with them this year, man. Good God.
All right. One last shot here. Hurricane Smoothies. Let's say Manny comes back as the head coach. Who is the DC and the OC? That's a big question. We'll work that through. We will answer that question as we go through several weeks here. We will.
You know what? I'm going to show you the respect because you paid and you asked this question. I'm going to show you the respect. I think he would go to the group of 5 and find an offensive coordinator because I don't think anybody else would want to coach under him. I think he would probably do Frank Pounce, somebody who kicked his butt this past week, not this past year at App State. When App State came to Miami, he was carving up the Manny Diaz defense. And this is a first-time offensive coordinator. He's from Miami. He was a part of Coach Cristobal's staff at FIU. Okay, so he went to Miami High School. So he's very intertwined into Dade County, and I think he would come here as the offensive coordinator. As a defensive coordinator, he may hire from within. He may give T-Rob an opportunity or Packy or something like that. Because I don't think many people will want to coach under him because it will be a one-year deal. Because you would know that he's not going to win enough to keep his job anytime past this. So I think he would have to hire from within, man.
All right, folks, we appreciate you being here as always. We would ask that in the future that you would grab some friends, bring them on in here. Obviously, Miami fans first and foremost, but any college football fans that you know, let them know that we're here every Tuesday. Let them know that the Wholesome Ones got a YouTube channel, Wholesome One Holloway. You can find it right here on YouTube. Check it out if you haven't already, and lock in over there as well. I'm going to be live at 5:30 Eastern, Iowa Hawkeyes live, and they've got a Big Ten championship game coming up. And then also we've got our watch party for the college football playoff rankings on the main channel tonight at 7 Eastern.
Oh, it's Tuesday already, huh? Good
Yeah,
God.
They're coming out.
Wow. What? All right, before we go, what's your prediction, Mark?
The prediction of what they're going to select?
Right.
They'll have Georgia 1, probably Michigan 2, Alabama 3, and Cincinnati 4.
Okay. Here's a wild card for me. It's a wild card.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Georgia.
Yeah.
Michigan, Bama, Oklahoma State at 4, Cincinnati at 5.
Oklahoma State was 7 last week. They beat Oklahoma,
who was 10.
Oh, yeah, they'll get a lot of credit for that win.
I think they're going to shoot them up there just because of that big win over Oklahoma. I don't necessarily think that's fair by any means, but obviously these 13 people just throw crap on the wall. It's bad, in my opinion. But that's where I think they're going to go, and I think Cincinnati will be 5, just sitting outside.
Okay.
That's me.
I think they may wait until the Big 12 championship game.
Ooh. Which I have Baylor upsetting Oklahoma State. There it is. All right, Mark, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all for being here. And just so everybody on there understands, man, I don't take things personally. I'm not angry. Yes, I understand we're having a discussion. I understand people want to just have their opinion, and we respect opinions. I just get passionate about mine. Again, like I'm not trying to project that on you. I'm not calling you stupid for thinking opposite. But when you come at me, I'm going to respond, especially with passion. Again, I'm a respectful person, and I think a lot of people are. But there are people who are not, and you have to deal with them with a certain level of intensity so that they quiet down. Anyway, appreciate y'all so much. Mark already plugged the channel. I'm going to be dropping my film review of the Duke game on this upcoming Wednesday. Tonight, I'm going to be cropping up my live. So tonight, you're going to have the call-in portion of the show from last night, which was crazy intense. That'll be dropping tonight as a crop re-upload. So please stop calling my phone because it's not a call-in. It's a rerun of last night's show. Mark, I'll be at work and my phone's going off, and I'm like, oh my, it must have been the upload must be on right now. People are like, I'm trying to call in. I'm like, man, that's a rerun of people calling. So hey, I appreciate the opportunity as always, Mark, and God bless and go Canes.